morning, great morning, wonderful morning, spectacular morning, outstanding morning, magnificent morning. Yes, the beautiful reminder again, as with the beginning of every one of these calls, that we get to choose. You always have a choice the same way that I always have a choice. And what is that choice? Well, the choice to choose our thoughts. See, that's the only free will you have. You don't have free will to act, you have free will to choose your thoughts. And with that free will, if you choose your thoughts wisely, you'll be led to some incredible change in your life. Now, that right there is a beautiful jewel that can help you to accomplish great outcomes, to attract really great things into your life, but only if you implement it in your way of thinking. Always remember that everything is fundamentally meaningless. Everything just is. Nothing is good or bad. It's our thinking that makes it so. See, it's again the meanings that you're giving what's happening in your life. And again, guess who gets to determine those meanings for you in your life? Every single moment of your life. See, it's you. It's always you, and it's always going to be you. Now, I want to read something. I was perusing through this beautiful gem here, The Secret of the Ages. And there's a chapter called The Master of Your Fate. It's a really cool chapter. I mean, every chapter in here is really cool. But I want you to listen to what he says here. Now, again, remember, what I'm sharing with you has to do with delivering really great outcomes and also has to do with feeling really great inside. Now, here's what he says. Again, this is in the chapter of The Master of Your Fate. He says, the difference between the successful man and the unsuccessful one is not much or not so much a matter of training or equipment. It is not a question of opportunity or luck. It is just in the way they each of them look at things. Now let's think about that for a moment. He points out how the difference between the successful person and the unsuccessful one is not about the knowledge that they have. It's not about their equipment. It's not about anything like that. It's about what they're imagining to be true. It's how they're looking at things. The unsuccessful person looks at things as, oh my gosh, this is happening to me. The successful person says, this is happening for me. See, it's a perception that makes the difference. And many of us have experienced that in our lives, and we've seen maybe somebody say something, and then we feel negatively about what that person says. But is it because of what the person said, or is it because the meaning that we give in what that person said? I mean, you can have 4, 5, 6 people just standing right here and they hear exactly the same thing, yet they live in completely different worlds. Why is their reality different? Well, it's not because of what's been said. It's not even because of the way it was said. It's because of the individual meanings that are being given to what's been said. Think about that. Even though it's exactly the same, the reality is different because of the perception. And so, why I'm sharing this with you is to help you to see that when you shift your perception about things, what happens is your frequency changes, and what you're attracted to, what is attracted to you, changes according to whatever that vibratory state is. When you look at your problems, are you looking at your problems as big or are they small? Yes, it's true that they are big or small relative to something, but in terms of the core truth, your problems just are. It's neither big nor small. It's your thinking that makes it so. Now, again, really grab onto what I'm saying here. We're sharing with you this beautiful power you have inside of you that can change everything for your life if you'll just engage with it. If you'll just use your imagination, perception, reason, will, memory, intuition. Here we've been talking about perception. And what's beautiful is when you do exercise those beautiful tools, your inner world starts to change. Now, if you want to dive more into those higher mental faculties, by all means, pull up this big, beautiful gem here. This is an amazing, beautiful gem. It's what I wish was given to me to help me to understand these things. But now, as we move on, this is what we are studying from the Master Key System. If you don't have a copy of this, get a copy of this. If you want to read along page for page, word for word, then get this specific copy and then highlight it, underline it, but most importantly, use it. Remember, this knowledge that's here, the knowledge that I'm sharing with you, the knowledge that anybody shares you is not power in and of itself. It's mere static, passive energy. See, the only way that becomes power is when it's applied. So apply it and use it as if your life depends on it. You know why? Because it really does. It really, really does. All right, so let's go into where we are. Here we're in part 20. Wow, this is, even though it takes a while to get through the pages, it's still moving pretty fast. And about this page, it's page 338 in this version of the book. Okay. And he asks a really important question, which every single one of these questions are important. And this one question here is, upon what condition does power depend? And the answer is very simple, upon recognition and what? And use, application, baby. Now here we can use an analogy like electricity. Having electricity in your home, and yes, you have electricity in your walls, traveling through your walls, I should say, through the wires to specific things that use the electricity. But, you know, having electricity in your home is useless unless you flip the switch and use it. Think about the lights in your home. They're absolutely useless unless you flip on the switch so that they can be used for their purpose. See, recognition and use. Now, what is recognition? Now, I love this. This is really cool. It's very simple. What is recognition? It's consciousness. Your consciousness, what you recognize, is what delivers the outcomes of your life. The moment you recognize, the moment you understand, realize that the power exists and that you can access it, is when you're aware of that specific power, that consciousness of you inside of you, of it being there, is what's going to help you to change. Think about how you became conscious of, for instance, your imagination. You knew you had an imagination, but in terms of the power itself, you didn't start to recognize and become conscious of that power of your imagination until you started to study and apply what's being shared with you. For instance, using the example and the practice that I recommend that you use of looking at material things from the perspective that it was in someone's mind first in the form of an image before it became the material thing. Is it interesting how your consciousness shifted once you started to think that way? And then you started to see, hey, wait a minute, I can imagine things too. And you have imagined things too, which led to the creation of things. Bob Proctor would say it's all about consciousness, awareness. what you're conscious of, awareness. Always increase your consciousness. And isn't it beautiful how that's what's been happening here in these calls as you've been using the information? How about this? Becoming conscious of how money comes into your life. I don't know about you, but before I used to think of it in terms of luck. Now I realize that it's according to law. And what's beautiful is you could use those laws. How about becoming conscious of the laws themselves? So again, what is recognition? It's consciousness. Now, before we proceed, those of you who are watching this live stream on the social media platforms, if this is clicking with you and you'd love to engage with this more, then by all means, go to elevitality.com and register for Master Your Mind. You'll thank yourself later.